Your grandfather, whom you know as Gung Gung, Peter Shi, or Sitaguang, was born October 10th, 1933, in Guilin, in the province of Guangxi, in China. I remember asking him for my own college project what one of his first memories were. And he told me because during his childhood, the second Chinese Japanese War was going on, and there was lots of fighting going on. And he and his friends would go out and pick up shells that the fighter jets had dropped, which I thought was just absolutely crazy. Anyway, after the Second Chinese-Japanese War, there was World War II. After World War II, the communists took over China. And unfortunately for both of my parents, their families worked in the government, so they had to escape or be killed. My mother, whom you know as Nai, escaped on foot through China to Vietnam and stayed in a refugee camp in Vietnam. My father, Gung Gung, had a little more money, a little more luck, got to fly to Taiwan and was safe. I knew my dad was getting to retirement age. Then in 2001, all three of us received a letter from him, which basically broke my heart. Dear Arlene, Albert, and Elaine, with this letter, I send to you each a copy of my resume. I'm not sending it to you and ask you to find me a job. I just want you to keep it for information. I'm now thinking seriously about retiring from my job at the end of this year. This means starting next year, I will be going into another lifestyle. No more 8 to 5 work, no more technical seminars, no more take-home reports to write, etc. It bothers me thinking about what should I do every day next year. I don't want to stay home all day with Lili. Maybe playing more golf or tennis? I don't know. The other day I saw my resume in my file. Suddenly it dawned on me. This is it. There will be no more things which can be added in it. Looking at it, I've done a lot of things. Comparing my accomplishments with others and our colleagues, I'm not as good as many people, but I'm not as bad as other people. So I'm in the middle somewhere. So this is it. This is your dad, okay? I love you, your dad, Peter Shi. This is my dad's resume. I guess I knew that he was smart, but I never knew how smart and how analytical dad really was. Never really cared. But this is my dad. In 1960, he received a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. 1966, a master's in material engineering from West Virginia University. Then in 1972, he got his PhD in macromolecular science from Case Western University. This is his doctorate. And he was published many, many times. And he has 2 patents to his name, and of course the company's name. But he's got 2 patents. That's pretty cool. So my Gung Gung, your great-grandfather, my grandfather, was an artist, and he does actually have some artwork that are in museums, and he did a bunch of Chinese calligraphy and Chinese scrolls. And of course, Dad tried his hand at it as well. He has some scrolls, but he found that he does better with just Chinese calligraphy. My childhood was, to me, absolutely perfect. I mean, for an American born Chinese. Honestly, growing up, I never really thought about the fact I was a daughter of an immigrant. Yes, it bothered me a little that my parents didn't speak perfect English, but neither did any of the other Chinese kids' parents that we knew. Growing up, we went to school with mostly white kids in a suburb of Dallas, Texas, but socially we were surrounded by other Chinese families, so it all felt completely normal. My parents never forced us to adopt Chinese ways. Yes, we had to learn piano. Yes, we had to get good grades, but it was an unspoken rule. But we weren't forced to take Chinese class or be the best student in school. They let us run around and be kids. We had birthday parties at McDonald's. I made my dad create a scavenger hunt for my 11th birthday, and it was the best birthday ever. Christmas was kind of weird, though, as I never knew about Santa Claus until much later in my life. We would pick out our own toys, wrap them, and put them under the tree. But I'm not sure if it was because I was so much younger than my siblings and that my parents were just tired of doing the hype. They supported us the best they could, always showing up for concerts, shows, award ceremonies, and I never knew there was a recession going on. I never knew that my dad had been let go at Xerox and he wasn't making any money. I never knew that the restaurant we had bought and ran for a few years was struggling. I remember answering the phone one day, and it was from my dad, who wasn't home, and it was about a job interview. Of course, I had to take a message for him, and I started to freak out. Why was he looking for a new job? What was going on? But it was a fleeting thought. My dad was a provider of the family, and we were going to get through anything. My favorite memory of my dad is just holding his hand across the street. All I knew was that was all I needed to stay safe. Just hold his hand. I remember in 5th grade, we were having a graduation ceremony to move up to the middle school. My dad lived in Ohio at the time as he was newly employed at Delphi General Motors. But we hadn't moved from Texas yet as they decided to let my sister graduate from her high school in Texas. My mom couldn't attend since she had to work, and I didn't know if my dad was going to make it with flights, traffic, etc. I went to school hoping that he'd get there. The 5th grade class was all ready to head down to the ceremony. I didn't see him, so I was a little upset. We walked in, took our seats, and I looked back, and there he was, proud as he could be, with a little stuffed animal for me. He had just made it. As I got into high school and my siblings were leaving the nest, I think he was feeling his age and the fact that he would soon be an empty nester. Anyway, I had signed up for Odyssey of the Mind, and then I learned that he had joined as well, as the treasurer, just to spend a little more time with me. My mom was never my go-to during those years. It was always my dad. He was always the one driving me places, making sure I had dinner, teaching me how to drive, making me breakfast on SAT and ACT testing Saturdays. Even in college, when I had my little mini breakdown, the one everyone gets their freshman year, I called him and cried my eyes out. He didn't say anything, just listened. He was always there for me, whenever I needed him. The last time we saw Gung Gung was Thanksgiving 2018. We went down there from New Hampshire to visit them in Ohio, and I could tell Dad was kind of already in the thralls of Alzheimer's at that time, so he didn't really. I think he knew who I was. I'm not sure if he remembered who you or your brother were, but I do remember the wonder and amazement just watching the two of you and watching your little brother play around, and just knowing, though, he was surrounded by family. The shrine. In Chinese culture, when someone dies, we put their picture up. And on Chinese New Year, on their birthday, on their death day, we honor them. We honor them by kowtowing to them, and we offer a plate of food for them. On those days, it's always hard for me. And the memories come flooding back. Gung Gung was diagnosed with Alzheimer's a few years after you were born. We were noticing him forgetting some stuff. He would write stuff down more. He loved traveling. Once Mom and Dad retired, they took lots of trips around the world, and Dad loved to take pictures. When he got them developed, he would write down what year it was taken, who was in it, where they were. I think it was a way for him to cope with his forgetfulness. It wasn't until you were a toddler, preschool years, that he was actually diagnosed. Mom and Dad, Gung Gung and I were babysitting you at their house, and since you loved Five Guys burgers, Nine told Gung Gung to get you dinner while she watched you. He left, and he didn't come back for like 2 hours. Luckily, you had lots of snacks, so you weren't hungry. He didn't come back with dinner. He had forgotten what he was doing and had forgotten how to get home. And I think that was the last straw for my mom. He was diagnosed pretty soon after that. It was weird to see my dad's mind go. He always remembered who I was, but sometimes couldn't remember his grandsons and his granddaughters' names. If you remember, he would always ask you, Jackson, how old you were and what grade you were in every single time he came to see you. And then once your brother came along, all he wanted to do was watch your baby brother's antics. But he was always happiest surrounded by his family. He knew he was with his family even though he didn't know everyone's name. Family was the most important thing for him.